Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Adrian and today we are going to use the SUVAT equations to calculate some running statistics, and we're going to compare it with the running statistics calculated by Strava. Now you can see this is a run I did on Wednesday, 6th of May, and you can see the total distance I ran was 4.38 kilometers. It took me approximately 24 minutes and 55 seconds, and I maintained an average pace of 5.41 minutes per kilometer. Now, just to go have a look at the end result, I managed to calculate using the GPS data recorded by my fitness watch. The total time it took me to jog was 25 minutes and 7 seconds. The total distance was 4.37 kilometers and my pace was 5.44 minutes per kilometer. So if you take this results I've calculated and you compare it to the Strava data, they are quite similar. They're fairly close. I think the difference is in the moving time. I think Strava has a little threshold where it thinks that I'm standing still, so then it doesn't compute it. That's why my time here is faster, while it took me longer here, 25 minutes and 7 seconds, and because I've just taken the total time. No moving time was calculated here. Now, if you're like me and you'd rather take GPS data and calculate the jogging time, the distance and the pace, rather than actually going and generating those GPS data, give this video a thumbs up just to show that you rather do some maths than go running. In any case, let's see how I did it. Now, the first thing I needed to do is get the GPS data from the Strava website. There's this 3 dots in the middle left of your screen. When you press it, there's an option to say export GPX. That is your GPS data in GPX format. So we can click that and it downloads it for you. If we then go have a look at the contents of that file, you can see everything is in here with little tags enclosing some of the data. So if we look here, there's some track tag and a name, a track segment and a track point with the latitude and longitude values. We've got some elevation, some other extensions, which is our heart rate and cadence, etc. It was recorded for each second. Because this is quite similar, or this looks really similar to HTML, and in fact it is XML code, we can use an XML parser library of Python to extract all this data. Now, if you have watched some of my previous video, you will know I've done a few web scraping tutorials using Beautiful Soup, and believe it or not, we're going to use Beautiful Soup to extract my running data. Right, so the first thing we need to do is we import all our libraries that we're going to use. So BS4 for Beautiful Soup, we're going to use NumPy for some matrix calculations, and then we're also importing the sin cost and all those trigonometric functions that we're going to use as well. Date time for the seconds. First thing we need to do is to extract all our data. So we are going to open up our GPX file that we've just downloaded. We're going to assign it to the variable soup, and then we're going to extract all the running data, which is enclosed in the track point HTML tags. Now, if we use the function find all, it's going to take all the track point tags and it's going to basically put all that data enclosed in those tags in an iteratable list. Next, we initiate a bunch of lists. One list is going to contain all our latitude points, one is going to contain all our longitude points, the other one is going to contain all the timestamps, and the last one is going to contain our elevation data for each time step that my running watch has recorded. And then we're going to extract it all. So I am going to do a for loop, and it's going to look at each track point that has been captured by Beautiful Soup, and it's going to append it to all these lists: latitude, longitude, timestamp and elevation. Now, just to show you how a tag looks like, so if we're going to say run data, the first tag, I'm just going to print that out and have a look at it. You can see the latitude and longitude is encased in the track point tag. So we have to use some split functions in Python to get a hold of the latitude and the longitude values, and we did it by splitting this string here multiple times to get the latitude and longitude value. The elevation was quite easy. We just had to go and say tag.find the elevation tag, and we want the text one as well as the timestamp. Now, the timestamp was a bit of a head scratcher because it is in the format of the date, the actual date, and then the time. And we are only interested in the seconds. So because this was 24 minutes in total and the GPS records new data points like almost every second, we are only interested in the minutes and the seconds, or the hours, minutes and seconds. If we move over to another hour, the date wasn't really a concern for me at this time. So we used the date time library in Python to basically get our timestamps, and we wanted the format to be in this hours, minutes, and seconds. We can go and just run the first one, and you'll see it breaks it up in 17, which is the hour, 28 is minutes, and 13 is the seconds. This datetime module is quite nice to use after when we're going to subtract. We're going to get delta times, etc. So it's going to be useful to make sure that if we go over to another minute or another hour, that we don't lose values there. So we are using that. All right, so all the data is being extracted from our XML file. The next we need to now go is to calculate the distances between 2 points that has been recorded by the GPS. Now, each point has a longitude and a latitude value, so we want to know what the value is, or the distance between those 2 pairs of points. And we used this calculation to do it. Now, I found this calculation on this website where you can actually have a look down here, and I've just gone and put that into a function in my script, and it returns the distance in meters. So because here's the radius of the earth is in kilometers, it will give me a kilometer value, but the distance that we are running per second is not kilometers, it's only in meters. So that's why I've multiplied it by 1,000 to make my calculations easier as well. Now we need to go and create arrays or matrices to contain all my timestamps and all my distances for those times in separate arrays that we can use in our SUVAT equations to calculate velocity and acceleration. Now I've created 2 variables called dt, delta time, and delta x, which is our delta distance, and I've initialized them with numpy arrays full of zeros. So the function numpy.zeros just creates a big matrix filled of zeros for a length given. So I've just taken the length of our variable t, and dx is the length of our variable dt. And then I used another for loop to go and calculate the distances. So here you can say I create like pairs, longitude pair and a latitude pair. This is the first longitude coordinate, that is the second longitude coordinate, so from point A to point B, and then the same for latitude, the latitude variable at point A, the latitude variable at point B, and then I give it to my function distance, and it returns a distance in meters between those latitude and longitude pairs. The same for my time. You can see here I've just subtract the previous time step from the current time step, and I just want the seconds. So this dot seconds is a date time function, which will then return just the seconds as an integer value, which is what I want. And then I create 2 new variables, cumulative time and cumulative distance, which then increases over time. We are going to go and just quickly show you the pairs of the time and the distance that we've just calculated from our GPS data. So we just want the dt I value and the dx I value. And then you can see 0, 0 at time 0, we have traveled 0 distance, and then after 1 second, we have traveled 1.56 meters. Then after another second, we have traveled 2 meters. This is the distance between the previous and the current point. So this is not cumulative. This is just the distance between the points. So you can see here in 1 second intervals, I traversed more than 3 meters. And then you can see here's like a 2 second interval, and the distance doubled accordingly to approximately 6.7. But the majority of the time steps of the delta time is 1 second. There is a 6 second here. I guess my GPS struggled a bit. There's some 7 seconds, but essentially it just shows you the time. Again, 7 seconds, I jogged 20 meters in 7 seconds. So this is the data that we have gotten from our GPS data as well as our timestamps. We can also have a look at just the cumulative data. So cumulative t and cumulative x. And this is also again at time 0, 0 distance traveled. And then at 1 second, 1.5, this is now cumulative. So you can see the time is increasing and the distance is increasing as well. As the seconds pass by, I jog a longer distance. And if we scroll all the way to the end, we will see that I jogged for approximately, jogged for 1,507 seconds, and I covered 4,368 meters, which is 4.3 kilometers, which we saw was how long that's how long Strava also showed I approximately traveled. So everything looks fine here. Happy with that. So this is now where we are going to use our SUVAT equation. Now, to be able to use the SUVAT equations, we need to assume that our acceleration is constant. It is not changing. And because this is a numerical problem, we can assume that between our time steps of 1 second, very small time steps, we assume that our acceleration is constant for that 1 second interval that we're looking at. And that is a reasonable assumption to make. If we would have said in the 10 minutes I jogged, I kept a constant acceleration, that would be unreasonable, and our calculations will be wrong if we took that assumption. But because we are moving in small time steps of a second, 2 seconds, we can assume to some high degree of accuracy that our acceleration is constant for that 1 second. Obviously it is not, but it's very close to being constant. So with that in mind, we can now use the SUVAT equations. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to calculate our average velocity. And we can do that by dividing our average distance, or the distance traveled, delta x, with the time it took to travel that distance, delta t. And I've just shown you our dx and our dt variables have that data captured, so we can easily calculate our average velocity. But we also know that our average velocity is the sum of our starting velocity u and our finished velocity, end velocity, v, divided by 2. That is also our average velocity. So we can combine these two equations to get the u and v vectors, or u and v matrices. And then lastly, we can calculate acceleration, and we know acceleration is the end velocity minus the beginning velocity divided by the time of that step. So if all that equation is known, we can go and calculate it. So first thing is, I initialize empty matrices by using the numpy.zeros function, and then we just go in a for loop. First for loop is I calculate the average velocity, which is the distance for a certain time step divided by the time it took to traverse that distance. And then we get average velocity. And then the second for loop, we can now go and calculate our end velocity and our start velocity. And you can see I start off in a range 1, so I omit the first value. If you did not have that one dot, this I would start at a value 0 and it will count towards the length of u. But if I say 1, comma, it will omit 0 and just start off at 1. So I will automatically start at 1, but then there is still values of 0, which we've initialized here above. So our u, our beginning velocity of I minus 1, which is essentially u element 0, is 0. For I equals 1, our end velocity is actually 2 times the average velocity, and this element here is effectively 0. But then for the rest of the values of I, u is not 0 anymore because we give that values in the next line. So for the second segment, our beginning velocity is equal to the end velocity of the previous time stamp. So that's how we get the values of our beginning velocity. And then when we have both of these values, we can calculate the acceleration, which is constant for that time step, by getting the difference between our end velocity and our start velocity, and we divide it by the time it took. So now we have our begin velocity, we've got our end velocity, and we've got our acceleration. Now we can start and calculate the statistics as shown by Strava and see if we did a good job. So we can calculate the average pace of the whole run with this equation here, saying that pace equals time divided by the distance. And because we've done all that, we're going to sum up our matrices. So you can see numpy sum the dt. So it takes all that little small time steps and it sums it all together, divides it by 60 to get minutes. And the same here goes for the total distance, the numpy distance. It sums up all our little distances that we ran for certain time steps, add them all up, divide them by 1,000 to get it to kilometers, and that's how we get these values. And then lastly, we just get the pace. We take the total time it took divided by the kilometers as the equation at the top, and we get the pace of 5.44 minutes per kilometer. And just to put it side by side, total jogging time of 25.07 minutes, 24.55. So there's a difference of 12 seconds. And the total distance is 4.37 kilometers. This is 4.38 kilometers. So there's a difference of 10 meters, which is not too bad. And then the pace is 5.44 meters per kilometer. And this is 5.41 minutes per kilometer. And that's it. That is how you go about calculating the pace of a jog. If you've got the GPS data, you calculate the distances using your GPS coordinates that's been recorded with your smartwatch, and you can get quite good accurate results using very simple equations like the SUVAT equations to get statistics that is comparable with Strava. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to see similar content like this, do consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.